What's up? It's good to have you on today. Why don't you introduce yourself for everybody that's watching?
No, thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to be on. So I'm Leo. Web3 identity is 055.eth. Yeah, I'm an ENS collector. Super passionate about the world of Web3 in the future that's in store essentially. In my Web2 life, I run a e-commerce marketing agency, which is what's behind me. That's the office that I'm in now. I run a marketing agency, and I've always been like in the e-commerce world as well. The Web3 world piqued my interest last year, and I've been balancing my time with Web2 to pay the bills and the cash flow, and then Web3 for where the future is going.
So when you first got into like all this stuff, like where did you begin? Because I know obviously like you've been huge in ENS and like that's one of the things that you've been putting like a lot of like time and effort into recently. But like where did you start with all of it?
Well, my appreciation for ENS can only come about because of the perspective I have on dabbling in all the other sides of Web3 and the NFT space. I've been in everything from projects that have done well to contract exploits to toxic communities, to communities turn toxic, to rug pulls. But where I started by eyeing the mutinates. That was the first thing that came on my radar. I remember speaking to a friend of mine who was in NFTs, and I was like, "Mutant apes are at the 3.5 ETH floor, and you're telling me bored apes are like the main thing, right? That's like the main club. So if the bored ape succeeds, the mutants have to succeed, right?" And he's like, "Man, just go for it. Don't think about it. Like these will do well. Non-financial advice, they'll do well."
Yeah.
So I was very close to buying a mutant, and it's funny enough, the decision I decided to take was to take the 3.5 ETH, which at the time would have been around in AUD around $25,000. I'm not sure what that would have been in USD. And I decided a safer bet would be for me to diversify those funds into crypto coins, and I put that money into coins like gaming coins, and if I look at my portfolio now, I think it's worth like maybe $700. So it's like massive crash, and then I had to deal with that going down while mutants hit over $100,000 in Australian dollar value, and that was very very painful. So I missed out on mutants. I missed out on Proof Collective. I had a friend send it to me at 1 ETH, and I ignored it. And I missed out on Moonbird. Same friend was like, just buy a Moonbird. Try and get on the raffles. I didn't even try, and
I remember.
and then they went to 20 something ETH. So my journey but at the same time, I got into Wolf Game very early, and yeah, that did well, and then I saw my money go crazy, and then the contract exploit happened, and I was like, what on earth is this? And then I started learning about contracts, and then that was interesting, a really really interesting phase. And then I was involved in a few rug pulls where I put like 3 grand into a project, and within 24 hours is worth like 30 cents or something. So being involved in so many different projects, like Hammy's Game, Noundles, Wolf Game. I bought Deadfellas very early on, and then I ended up selling. So I bought for like point 0.9, I sold at point 0.8 because I'm like, what are these guys doing? Like it hasn't moved. And
Yeah.
so it takes you a while to like learn. Then I saw them go to 4 ETH, and then it was through that I started to go, okay, what makes projects successful? What makes a good project successful? And throughout that entire journey, it helped me like learn so many lessons that when I saw the 3 digits pop up, and I had an idea that it was going to essentially be like a decentralized proof collective. It was like an instant, this is going to win. And I didn't think twice about it. And it was actually the first thing I invested into that I thought it was a good idea, and I actually took action because I missed out on mutants, and I missed out on proof, and I missed out on moonbirds. So this was like the fourth thing where I'm like, I'm not going to miss out this time. I'm going to put some money down. And I bought 2 3 digits at 1 ETH each, and the rest is history.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny that you mention that because it does seem like in retrospect it's so obvious. Like you see it on Twitter all the time. People are like, "Oh, like you could have bought mutants at this. Like you could have done this. You could have done this." But it's like the whole tale of like, "Oh, if you buy something like for 3 ETH, right? Like would you have actually held it until it got to like 40 ETH, right? Like who knows? Like some people, yeah, they did hold from like 3 ETH to 40, but for like the most part, you would have people that would buy a mutant at 3 ETH and they would sell it at like 5 or 6 or 7. Like it's almost like people always have this thing where they say, "Oh, like man, if I bought at 3, it would have been worth 40, like I missed out on all this." And it's just like, "Yeah, but like would you have actually sold the top of something like that?" And for most people, like it doesn't necessarily happen.
The essential idea to think that I've learned actually in this, while we're on the topic, is don't measure what you could have had, what you could have lost, based on unrealized gains, if that makes sense. Like I
Right.
could have bought here and then sold here, because realistically, you don't know if that could have even been the top. So like, how do we know that in a year's time, the people who sold at 35 ETH are going to be like, damn, I should have held to 100 if mutants get to 100 ETH for? Like you just don't want to play that game. The game you want to play is a game of profit. So long as you're consistently profiting, then you're good. And the thing is, for me, is I was losing money, and that's another thing. Like it takes losing a lot and learning a lot to finally strike big. And I have one big with ENS, but believe me, it was from like 7 months of constantly hemorrhaging money. In total, I did my profit and loss, before I actually made my profit from ENS. And I was going through and I'm like, let me just see what the damage is from NFTs, because I was constantly circling cash from my personal savings, my business, to like buy NFTs. And I was always like, I just want to learn, I just want to learn. But my loss was around 35 grand
Yeah.
by the and I had to sit with that and be like, I've been in NFTs for 7 months and I'm at a loss of 35 grand. Aren't you supposed to make money? What is this? But I'm like, if I keep going over 5 years, I'll turn the ship around. That's what I believe. And the
Right.
ship did get turned around with ENS. And so I was there, I was involved, and I kept an open mind. And then if you stick at it long enough, you eventually strike big.
So, a couple things on that. So, obviously, you have been, I guess you could say, like spokesperson. I know there's like a lot of people that have been like on Twitter, they've been talking a lot about 3 digit English and then Arabic showed up and all that. So, at what point did you get into the English digits? And then at what point did you say to yourself, like, okay, like these Arabic digits could also be worth something? Because for whoever's watching this, and I know that this hasn't been mentioned yet, but you were the person that sold 000.eth in Arabic for 100 ETH like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah, and an awesome feeling. And like I said, that was like that moment, right? Everything
Hmm.
kind of like led up to that first big win. So I get looked at, and now I'll get mentioned. I'll get said. People will say certain things like, "You're a spokesperson, you're a voice," and the impression is usually that I was like that when digits first came out. I never used my Twitter profile to post barely anything. I was talking about Wolf Game and stuff like that, but I had barely any followers.
Hmm.
I built my profile through talking about 3 digits, from like 150 followers to where I am now.
Yeah, that's
So I
sick.
was never really a spokesperson back then. I became a spokesperson in the process. Um, so when I found out about 3 digits was because I was just registering ENS domains, and I was following, and the story is very similar for a lot of people. I was following Daniel Got Hits,
Yeah.
and he was just talking about like certain brand names to get, or certain type of like strategy on what ENS.ETH addresses to get. And I had gotten one 6 months or like 4 or 5 months before I had seen his tweets, but just one of them. And then I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This is a good long term play. So I just started registering some domains. And then when he posted about the 3 digits, and then I got the idea that there'd be some sort of club for people who hold 3 digits, similar to how there's like a club for people who hold license plates. And then I got the idea of like, did your .eth address is actually your digital identity, and I know that people flex their car identity with spending millions of dollars on their license plates. Imagine what they'd spend if they. I explain it this way: if people spend $10 million to slap a number plate on their car, to flex on their car, which for the most part no one can actually see who's inside that car, right?
Right.
Or only maybe 10 or 20, 30 people a day actually see the plate. Imagine what they'd spend if like they could walk around with something on their forehead like this, right?
Hmm.
Like a number plate for their forehead, where it's on display for everyone they ever talk to see. That's Web3 provides that on steroids. So if people were flexing before, they're going to flex way harder than what they were on number plates in Web3, because every interaction I have, every DM I send, every comment I post, every time someone comes and looks me up, right? They're going to see my digits as my identity that's going to give me proof. In the same way that, I'm not verified on Instagram, but imagine being a guy that's verified on Instagram, right? You're at a club, you're talking to a girl, you're like, hey, why don't you add me on Instagram? Or let me add you on Instagram. She's not giving you too much mind. You add her on Instagram, she checks and you're verified. I've seen that happen. I've actually seen a friend do that, and the tone changes, right? It's like, wait, who are you? Is the question that
Yeah.
always gets followed up. Now, that's a verified tick, and everyone understands that. Imagine a world where everyone gets Web3. Like the average person knows what a .eth address is. That's not here yet, but it eventually will be. And if it's a flex now, then it's going to be a flex in the future. Like no one is eventually. There isn't going to come a time where people are just suddenly going to be like, 3 digits are no longer a flex. It's game over. If .eth addresses win, if ENS wins, 3 digits are going to be the number one flex, along with like real short like first names, or a real awesome like username like god.eth, or killer, or gamble, or something cool like that, right? So for me it was like a no-brainer. I'm like, yeah, I understand the world of culture, the flexing. I'm Arabic myself. And then so when I got the digits and I saw their success, I actually went and looked up the Arabic numbers in ENS Vision, and I saw that 000 and 001 were available. And here's the keynote: I bought them not because I thought these would succeed. I did it because I wanted to personally collect them. I
Hmm.
thought it would be cool to have the 000 and 001 in Arabic. I had no idea that they would blow up in the way that they did. In hindsight, I should have known and probably gotten more. But I was just like, if anyone's going to own 000 and 001 in Arabic, I want to be the person that does, because I can read and write Arabic. I'm passionate about being Middle Eastern. I have lived in Syria for a few years, and so I actually appreciate the culture. And so I'd be happy to buy it from a collector's point of view, and that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, it's actually really interesting to hear you say like all that stuff because when you registered 000.eth in Arabic, it was available in what's that, two months ago?
Yeah.
What was your thought in your head when you saw that that was available, knowing what you did?
I I'm not even joking. I registered both of them. It cost me the 640 USD, so 1200. Yeah, it's like 2 grand AUD. I turned to my girlfriend when I saw her that night, and I'm like, I think I just burned 2 grand. That's what I said to her. I'm like, I think I just wasted $2,000. Like, I don't know why I got this, babe, but I think I just wasted 2 grand. But I said to her, look, like, you know what? People buy artwork and they just collect it. People like buying, people like collecting stuff, and spend they like to spend things to collect. And ultimately, when people come to my OpenSea wallet, whatever they see in my wallet is actually a reflection on who I am. If you go to my wallet, you're going to see Arabic words, you're going to see religious words, you're going to see my digits. So you're going to be like, okay, this guy must be Middle Eastern. He must appreciate Arabic culture. He must also appreciate the monotheistic religions, and you would actually get a pretty accurate depiction of who I am just by viewing my wallet.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I just want to collect them, and I said to her, I'm all good with it's okay. I'll write off the 2 grand, and I just paid 2 grand to get these 2 digits. I'm not sure if I'll re-register in a year. And then before you know it, I put up a post. I put it up as a tweet, and I said, and you should read my tweet. It's somewhere on my profile. And it was very like, I got it because I like the Arabic language. I think Arabic's really cool. I don't think it's like a good investment. But let's see what happens. And then it caught on almost really organically. Then I started to really talk about it. Yeah. But even at the beginning, like when the Arabic 909 Club started, they reached out, and I said, guys, slow down. I'm not pushing anything. And I don't think you should be trying to shill this. If it doesn't catch on organically and people don't care about Arabic numbers, then just don't worry about it, because it's going to go to zero. Like, don't even bother. Don't come off as a shiller. But the opposites happen. And now Arabic has become like, every time you see the top 10 top 15 sales, you've got 3 or 4 Arabic digits in there alongside the 4K, 10K club, and alongside 3 digits, which is beautiful to see.
Well, what's interesting also about that is that after this happened, right? So there was like the English 3 digits sold out, and then English 4 digits sold out like a week later. And then people started going for like the 5 digits, and then that was when it shifted from English to all right, Arabic. And then once Arabic sold out, then everybody was going and trying to like start like all these different like, 3 digits and all that. And it's funny because like I actually saw a couple times like people were saying to me, they were like, when is the next like 3 digit club coming out? And I'm like, you can register, like you can go and you can get these if you want them. Like it's not like anybody has to create it. And it was just like almost that like collection mindset of like, when does this mint? Like I don't know if you
Yeah,
experienced that at all.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
No, that's it's because it's so different to what they're used to.
I know.
Right? At first impressions, I get asked all the time, where do I go and mint this? Or when's the drop? Like exactly what you said. ENS is so unique because you can create it all out of thin air. And if the community vibes with it, then it becomes ingrained in the culture. I remember at the very early stages, because I was actually playing a part and doing my best to help, the 10K Club Discord, the 999, organizing Zoom calls, doing spaces. I did a call with Nick.eth, who's the creator of ENS.
Hmm.
And when I was talking to him, I said, "What do you think about this?" And he goes, "This is not why ENS was created. We didn't do it create ENS thinking that there would be a 10K digits club, but if the community has gone around it and everyone in that community is going to talk and be raving fans about ENS and spread the word and increase adoption, then I'm paraphrasing here, right? But he likes it and he thought it was cool. But ENS themselves, and this is what I think a lot of people miss, they did not plan this one bit. There's the ENS maxis and degens, and then there's the purists who are like building the technology of what will eventually be our Web3 passport. They didn't expect that people would be minting in this way, building communities around clubs. It wasn't something they had intended, but that's what makes it so beautiful. That is the essential essence of decentralization. That we are free to do what it is that we want. I'm not waiting on some founders to come and launch something
Yeah.
or to deliver something by a specific time. And that's what was so refreshing about ENS. No roadmap, unruggable. No one can rug. It's unruggable. There's no roadmap. There are no leaders or founders that have taken all the money that can go and run. So, and even if they don't run, they're chilling. They're just like lazy now. They work hard to get all the mint money, and then after that, most founders are they do a slow rug essentially, and that's the disappointing thing. Being involved in that so many times, it was so refreshing being involved in a community where my effort could actually contribute to the financial upside. Every thread that I wrote, every spaces I jumped into, every interview I did is directly helping my bags.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Whereas if I have invested into a random project like Noundles, for example, I had to sit there and wait. Please, devs, do something, right? That
Right.
whole idea. Please do something. Please deliver on time. You've said to people that this new thing is dropping tomorrow, and it's been 3 days late, and now the floor is being hemorrhaged, and there's FUD in the Discord. Please do something on time. Please deliver on time.
Yeah.
I'm sick of that, man. I want power to the people. I want to take control, and that's what I love about ENS is that you can start a club and then you can make it happen on your own. No, you're not waiting on anyone to do anything, and you can increase its value. So that's the unique thing about ENS versus everything else. And anyone who gets involved in it and gets involved into an ENS community, it's all the same story. They get addicted and then they stop investing into your standard PFPs. With that said, I mean, I love the Board Ape Yacht Club, and I'd love to have a punk one day. And I love even not forget about the FUD around Azukis. I like the artwork. Like I can
Hmm.
still appreciate that stuff. But as an investor, my portfolio largely leans towards ENS.
Yeah, and I know that we spoke about this like a little bit before we hopped on and we just started recording all this, but it's like people what they always do, and I've seen this so often, like in the NFT spaces, they go around and they look for like the next hyped project, and it's like it has hype, and everybody's like, oh, what's hype? Like, what's everybody talking about? It mints out, and then people look for like a good exit, and then they forget about it entirely, leave the Discord, don't care, and then when the ENS bull run happened like a couple weeks ago. God, it doesn't even feel like it was that long ago, but you know, a couple weeks ago, and all these alpha groups, like everyone was calling it, everyone's like all these digits, and everyone started going and registering. They're like, oh, what do you think about Hindi? Like, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think about that? And then all of like the clubs started running, and then you know, for the time being, it seems like things have slowed down a bit in terms of like just the overwhelming amount of volume that there was, which I can totally understand. But to me, and once again, like I am not somebody to tell anybody else like what to do, but so often I hear about people, they're like, oh, like I'm holding this PFP, it's a long-term hold for me. Like I want to hold this long. And it's like you're expecting these founders to be able to deliver like a product or IP or something like over a year's, like 2-3 years, like forever's like worth of time. And to me, when I see ENS, it's like everybody jumped in and they were like, oh yeah, like I like, oh yeah, I could flip these, like, you know, what's the all the blah blah blah. And then the next thing you know, like everybody kind of just moved on to like the next thing. And where it's hard for me to think that people didn't just hop into ENS for a flip opportunity and then walk away and not realize, oh, like this is actually the next big thing. And because people are so short-sighted, they're just like, oh, what's the next, like what has volume, what's the next thing? And so like I guess that's something that, like when all of this was going on, and then like I saw that like the floors on some of these were dropping, I'm like, are people really like trying to get out of this? And then people stopped talking about it, and I was just like, man, like it's like once again, like it's hard for me to believe that this wasn't a huge opportunity staring everyone in the face. And they'll probably like hop onto it again in the future, but it's just like this is so different, and it defies like everything that people want in a project, and they just like almost didn't even realize it. They were just like flipping it at the time.
When I invest into .eth addresses, I'm betting on ENS. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe ENS is going to be here in 5 years. And I believe Ethereum will be here in 5 years. So these are two important things. I believe I'm an Ethereum blockchain maxi. I believe Ethereum will be the winning blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that ENS is going to be the winning name service. And so if I believe into those two things, then I can safely invest into things now. Because if a million new users come to ENS, will the floor of the 10K club go up? Absolutely. Will the floor of the 999 go up? 100%. Why? Because that's where the liquidity grows. That people come in, they buy a whole bunch of random names, and then people get involved in a community, and then they learn, and then they educate, and then the liquidity just constantly flows down, or that should probably go up, down to the apex of the collection. And the apex is 3 digits English, it's the 10K club, and now what's recently proven itself is the Arabic club. So I know that I believe that long term we're going to have millions of new users, and millions of new users bring a ton more liquidity. And I believe that the funnel structure is going to be come in, buy something random or a cheap, you know, ENS to get some part of some sort of a community, and then buy random names, and then educate, and then as people make some money or flip a profit, or maybe they've got cash but they're too tentative to actually invest, liquidity is going to constantly eventually flow and trickle down to the blue chips of the collection, which is 3 digits, 10K club. Arabic has proven itself to be one, and you know, your 3-letter domains, your first names, and possibly some brand names as well, or some really cool nicknames. So for me, I've got no problem betting big on ENS, because like I said, I don't know. It's not like, okay, best example to give you is if I bet on an NFT project, I'm betting that that specific project does well. I'm betting on the founders to deliver what they said, and for the community to continuously appreciate it. But I'm not betting on NFTs as a whole. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like if there was a project I can invest into, an NFT project, where it will continuously do well if NFTs in general succeed long term, then I would go all in, because I believe that NFTs long term will work. But even with the Bored Ape Yacht Club, I'm not guaranteed that Yuga Labs is going to deliver long term. I do believe NFTs will be here long term, though. I do believe Web3 is going to be a thing and the metaverse will be a thing. I believe in all those things. But there's no NFT project that I can invest into now where its success is tied to the actual success of the thing that it's within, which is, say, Web3. But ENS, if I believe ENS will succeed, if I believe Ethereum will succeed, then I have to believe ENS will succeed. And then if I believe ENS will succeed, then I have to believe that the blue chips of the collection, which started organically, which has already cemented itself within the culture. People aren't going to wake up and suddenly just start to go, oh, 3 digits aren't valuable. So it's
Yeah.
always going to be ingrained. Then I should be very comfortable to put my money in and just sit back and chill and constantly buy if I've got the liquidity whenever the floor comes down and drops. That's like my investment philosophy essentially.
Is there any conversation, and like I don't know the answer to this because, and I actually feel like I heard Daniel talk about it, but like is it always going to be that like 3 digits are the minimum? Because like for example, like let's say I don't know, like ENS changes their whatever, and then all of a sudden like there can be like 2 digit domains or like 1 digit domains. Like do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so that was actually a conversation that got sparked a few weeks ago, and then in a recent spaces that a few of the guys who actually own 008 and 006, they spoke with Nick.eth, who's the creator of ENS, and kind of put everyone's mind at ease. So a few things on that, as far as I know, is number one, ENS is not a private company where a decision can just be made overnight, and that's what makes it unique. If 2 digits are going to be implemented, there needs to be a vote
Mm-hmm.
by the actual DAO, and everyone's going to have plenty of time in advance to factor this in and make plans for it to come out. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I guess the question is, will 2 digits or 1 digits take away from the actual 3 digit club? Well, 2 digits only bring in, like, think about the number of combinations. Like, if single digits will only introduce 10,
10 numbers, yeah,
nine
yeah.
of, yeah, 10 numbers, right? And then 100, and then the 2 digits, I'm not sure how much that'll be, but it's not a significant amount. That's number one. Number two,
Mm-hmm.
if they would actually go on some sort of auction, they could be purchased at such astronomical, figures that it would bring attention to the overall ENS, ENS community or ENS technology, and then it'll be a spectacle, and then that will invite more liquidity in that will eventually filter down to the 3 and 4 digits. But based on what Nick actually said in this recent spaces, this is only like a few weeks ago, he said there's no plans for this. It's not even something they're talking about or considering. It could be something that they may do, but down the line. And if they did do it, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of, it could be for, it wouldn't be sold to retail. It would be something that would be done by, like, I don't know, a registry or some sort of a company would buy it. So it's not like a retail auction, and it doesn't really affect retail. I'm not sure exactly what that is. 008.eth is a good person to clarify with. So it'd probably be worth reaching out to him. But um, there's usually, when people speak about this, it's like, can it happen? Yes, it can. Can it happen overnight? Definitely not. ENS is not a private company. It's a DAO. It's a decentralized organization, right? So in order for this to happen, it needs to be put forward. There needs to be a vote, and then there'll be a proper plan in place for it to take place. And more importantly, there has to be a good reason for it.
Yeah.
What's the reason? What is the reason? There has to be a compelling reason for it. And if the community truly doesn't want it, we can go and buy ENS tokens and then vote.
So
So
that's what
that's a
those
full-time
tokens
tool.
were for. Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the ENS token is for. It's essentially, it's
Voting
your
rights.
voting power, right? So it's just like, it's not like a decision can be made overnight. And then if we go to play the game of, like, could it affect us? Could it affect? Well, it will definitely, 1 and 2 digits will be worth more money. But would it mean that in 3 years' time, 3 digits and 4 digits won't be worth more than they are now? It's not gonna stop them from being valuable, right? There's only, like I said, over the single digits, there won't be 9 of them. So yeah, I don't think it's much room for concern. There's not much room for concern there. with your friend who was like wasn't really getting the three digits.
Yeah.
The best way I always like to explain digits is by hitting like certain points that allows the average person to really get. Okay, so everyone understands that number plates are valuable. Low digit number plates is something that is an industry that exists in multiple countries, and low number plates receive high bids.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Dubai. The Dubai D5, the number five, got sold for $9 million. In Victoria here, which is just the Victorian number plates, not even Sydney or New South Wales or a different state, just the Victorian heritage plates. We have multi-million-dollar sales of low-digit number plates. So this is something that exists across culture because it's a flex, and there's always going to be people with money who want to flex, and that's something. Those are two things that can't be argued with. Okay, so we agree that it's always going to be existent, but it actually goes further than that. People will spend more money on certain phone
Yep.
numbers. That's always existed. Like really cool phone numbers, people actually buy and spend more money on. So there's always this thing with numbers. So then you go, okay, well, why numbers then? And what makes numbers special? Because in a Web3 world where we're essentially connected across cultures, it's not just in one country, across cultures from Asia through to Africa, through to the West, through to the Middle East, numbers are universal. So they're the one thing that actually connects us together. So if I was to actually buy a name, let's say I want to buy a first name, am I going to buy John.ETH and Rocket? No. So as a flex, the only name I'd be interested in is Leo if I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get my first name. Whereas with a number, there could be a number that actually means something to me. People get numbers based on, an anniversary. It could be a number that means something to them. There are numbers that are significant in religion. Certain numbers that are significant in religion. And then if you take a look at, say, the Asian culture like China, the Beijing Olympics was hosted in 2008. By the way, eight is their ultimate, like one of their ultimate lucky numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Beijing Olympics was hosted in 2008 on the 8th, on the 8th day, at the 8th hour, and the 8th minute, right? And people in Chinese culture make decisions on when they get married, what house they buy, what's valuable and what isn't based on numbers because they're in lucky numbers in their culture.
Yeah.
So then if we understand this, we know, okay, numbers are universal. They actually mean certain things in certain cultures. We actually see existing economies like that receive money based on numbers, like number plates and phone numbers. Then we go, okay, now why wouldn't it happen in the world of Web3? If I'm purchasing something that's going to reflect my personal identity, and people know that as humans, we have an innate want to reflect our status and flex. Some people do, not everyone does, but some people do. Then why wouldn't I choose to purchase digits? Because they're universal. I can form a community around them. Let's say you were to form a community around first names. Well, what if I was to tell you my name is Leo, but I spell it Liioo? Who are you to tell me that it's not a name? I just spell it different,
Yeah.
right? So there is no boundaries in forming a community around names, and names and words in different language, they can exist in different languages, whereas numbers are universal and they're well known universally. So it became a thing. It's existed and it's become a thing. And now there isn't a conversation of whether this is dumb, stupid, going to work, what isn't going to work. It's ingrained within the culture. If ENS succeeds and people still buy things to flex, digits are a guaranteed win. Not financial advice. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it would be illogical to say that they're just going to suddenly phase out. And guess what? Now there's actually real practical use. So, for example, because now it's a flex and it's actually culturally people associate a flex to it, when I comment, I get more likes.
Yeah.
When I put out a tweet, I get more attention. When I jump on a spaces, or if I request to go on spaces, three digits, I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
it
They
tends to
bring you
have the
up.
bid. They bring you up, right? If I imagine, like, I got to a point where I could send an email, which you can from my 3 digit, or send a message from my 3 digit, or reach out to you via DMs. No matter what you say, bro, if I reached out with a 6 digit domain versus my 055.eth, you'd be more likely to respond to that message because you're like, oh, well, you've got a 3 digit and
Yeah.
it's worth like 20 ETH. So I'm interested to have a chat. It's like having a bored ape, or and because now there's actual practical use for it, where I can build a personal brand and identity from it, now it has real life impact because I'm connecting with other 3-digit holders, which is putting me around really successful entrepreneurs and Web3 gigabrains, which then allows me to have business ventures thrown at me, which has happened. And I'm connecting with people and networking, and I flew to Singapore. And so by default, it becomes something that is inherently valuable. Clip that, send it to your friend, and tell them to buy some 3 digits.
I'm sure everyone's gonna be going through and they're gonna be dropping 20 ETH on 3 digits. We're having this conversation right now, and obviously this is going on YouTube. And what's gonna end up happening is we're gonna look back on this like a year or 2 years from now, and after, because I did mention, there's like very few wallets that are in the space right now. When there's more wallets that do end up, when there's more money that comes in, it's like, where is it going to go? And it's just like, I think that it's going to go to, hey, I want one cool PFP, right? Whatever that may be, because obviously, like, it is what it is. Like, it's a profile picture. And then they're also going to want to go get like a digit, whatever it may be.
Agreed. And I think one thing that also mentioned is when you join like NFTs, let's say you're brand new, you buy there's certain like projects you can buy into, and the reason why people buy into it is so that they're instantly part of like some sort of club or community,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I remember I bought like an NFT so that I could be like, oh, I'm part of this, and then people comment, I get some follows, and I'm like, this is cool, man. I like being in group chats and connecting with people who can help me learn how to, about Web3, learn about NFTs. I've learned everything I know about Web3 being part of communities, right? So if you want to join if you want to join the world of NFTs, yeah, there's all these like different communities you can choose from. You can buy one then to become a part of the community, right?
Mhm.
If you want to join the ENS community, there's the main community is the 10K club.
Yeah.
So buying a digit isn't just about banking on the fact that numbers are valuable. It's the fact that it's your ticket inside the 10K club. It's your a 3 digit is your ticket within the 999 group chat, within this highly gigabrain filled, really intelligent group chat. I've been in group chats before, and nothing compares to the 999.
That's interesting.
Genuinely,
That's interesting to
genuinely,
hear.
there is the connections you make, the meetings that you're having, the conversations that are taking place. There isn't People aren't talking about and speculating on price. People are talking about like the number of users coming to ENS, the activity, what's happening in the economy, best plays, okay, where to allocate cash, arbitrage opportunities, the networking. Okay, hey guys, I've got a project I want to launch. Anyone know any devs? Oh, I'm actually a dev. Great. Well, you're a 999. I'd love to work with you. And then it's creating this real awesome networking opportunities in the same way that if you remember during the NFT bull run, certain projects would sell out because and the seller was it's run by 3 Bored Ape Yacht Club
I
holders.
remember.
I don't know if you've ever heard that, right?
Yep.
So just because they're the Bored Ape Yacht Club holders, they could launch a project and they'd make millions of dollars off mint. In the same way, in the ENS game, if a 999 or a group of 999ers come together and launch something, it's going to have that similar impact. Where it's like, oh, a 999er has launched a group of 999ers have launched this project, and people will give it more social proof than the average project that gets pushed around. So now it's no longer even about whether you believe in numbers. It's the fact that that is your ticket into the ENS degenerate, the ENS degen
Yeah.
community. And then a 3 digit is into something even, it's like being a part of the ENS Illuminati. Literally, like that's what it feels like sometimes. Like genuinely, man, like the people in that group are just second to none. Like unreal, genuinely unreal. There's people in there who've been paid millions of dollars to be hedge fund managers and now just chilling, trading digits and are obsessed with ENS. Like um people who run multi-billion-dollar companies, like genuinely that exists within the club. And there's NFT traders and crypto traders and DeFi experts and Web2 entrepreneurs who are now taking their first steps into Web3. There's like all under this one club, and the weak hands leave, and it just gets replaced by stronger, more gigabrain. You know what I mean? Like not to judge anyone who sells because people need liquidity,
Right.
and that's totally fair. But it it is now even beyond the numbers. It's the fact that if you want to join the NF the community for all of ENS, it's the 10K club.
Yeah.
That's the community. It's the board ape of all of NFTs, except decentralized and less speculative, and we're waiting on less of a roadmap when there is no roadmap.
Yeah.
So it's the roadmap is more users coming into ENS.
I mean, once again, like not financial advice, but it seems like the only thing that really sucks about ENS is the fact that you have to like re-register it, right? Like beyond that, it's like it seems like it's so untouchable from like anything else. Like maybe there's art, maybe there's like one of one art, autoglyphs, squiggles. It could be like any of these artists that put out any of this stuff, currency, whatever. But it's like with this, it's just like yeah, you have to re-register them, but beyond that, it's like that's like the main thing that sucks is like if you want to hold on to them, there's like a
Yeah,
premium that you have to pay to be able to do it,
sure.
especially like three digits. So yeah,
Definitely. If you want to hold on to them like a personal name, then you have to cop the registration fees. Like, by the way, 3 digits is 640 USD, 4 digits is 150, and 5 characters plus is only $5.
yeah,
So if you want like a username that you use, maybe just get a 5 character. But even 3 digits and 4 digits on from a secondary market perspective, whatever they've been registered for, it gets priced in to what you're selling it.
yeah,
So like if you go to the Arabic 4 and then you see a digit that has like 5 months registration, you can actually see that the additional ETH that you'd have to pay to buy it is probably the difference in the registration cost for the one that's on the floor. So it gets priced in. Like you may pay it, but you'll get it back if you sell, because the person buying it is pricing your registration cost into the value of
right.
the actual digit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have more conviction on this than like literally anything. Like, yeah, I hold an ape and like I have like a couple like other big PFP projects, but like there's just there's nothing that I would feel more comfortable in than this for like everything that we've talked about.
The difference between Arabic and every other culture is a few things to actually touch on is, firstly, a lot of people don't actually know that English numbers are Western Arabic numerals. They're actually Arabic numbers, right? So
So what
zero,
do you so what do
sifr,
you mean by that?
as in like English numbers,
Hmm.
their base, their origin is Arabic numbers.
I did not even know that.
Yeah. So sifr, zero, sifr, zero, right? If you look at the one in Arabic, it looks the same as the one in English,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
English numbers actually come, like if you look it up, look, you can go on Google and be like English numbers, Western Arabic, and you can actually do research and find that the genesis of the essentially the genesis of the English numbers comes from Arabic numerals. So sifr, the zero in Arabic, came before zero, and zero, it was actually based on the Arabic numerical system. So that's the one thing that really separates Arabic from other cultures, right? That's the first thing. Second thing, Arabic numbers are actually used in Arabic culture,
Hmm.
whereas in other languages they don't typically, they will use like English numerals, right? So Arabic, where are they used? So Arabic is used in luxury settings, which is important because when you're buying an Arabic number, it's as a flex. And so it does, it get used in luxury settings to show off? It does. Rolex, out of all the different languages, chose to do a Rolex with Arabic numbers,
Yeah, I saw that on the
right?
face.
And it's one of like it's one of the like celebrities have worn. It's one of like it's an expensive Rolex. It's a beautiful watch. It's actually my dream Rolex with the Arabic numbers. So it gets used in luxury settings. If you actually go to Saudi Arabia, the number plates are in Arabic. They actually use these numerals. Whereas, say for example, not to hate on Chinese numerals, but the Chinese digits aren't actually numbers. They're
They're-
written out. So if I go 562, it's like five, the word 562. Now, where that could work is ultimately if you hold one, you become within the 999 of the English. Sorry, you would build a community around them. So it doesn't actually have to make sense. But if there's a community built around them, and it attracts people into that community, and it becomes valuable to be within that community, then forget about them being numbers. They'll just have value because they're a pass into a valuable community. So they could still work. Same with like other languages too. But Arabic are very, very unique. Arabic is actually very, very unique. And then another thing is that people will say there's only like a few hundred million Arabic speakers, where um there's different there's like a billion Chinese speakers or whatever it may be. But with Arabic, the Islamic religion, there's like say 2 billion Muslims around the world, and the Quran is only written in one language, and that was Arabic. And when Muslims learn about their religion, they're told to learn it in Arabic. They memorize things in Arabic. And so Arabic is actually way more widespread than people give it credit. They will say, oh, there's only like a certain amount of actual Arabic native speakers, but because of the Quran, the religious text for Muslims, which is written in Arabic, they learn it in Arabic. When they recite their prayers, they don't do it in English. They do it in Arabic.
That's crazy.
If
I did
they're
not
not,
know that.
they, yeah, of course. If you're a Muslim and you want to do something, learn something called the Fatiha, you learn it in Arabic. Even if you don't understand the words, you'll learn to say it in Arabic. There is no Muslim that'll sit there and say a prayer in English.
I
So,
didn't know any of this.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna have to
That's why
push
Arabic is unique.
yeah, I'm gonna have to push this part to the front of the video. This tweet went crazy for me. And because you mentioned it, it's like, yes, when it goes crazy, there are going to be certain projects that are going to pump, right? And when I say projects, because like when people think of NFTs, first and foremost, what do they think about? They think about like, you know, your mutants, like everything that I listed right here. Like these are like the top blue chip projects that while are inaccessible to a lot of other people, I did throw like, you know, English, you know, 3 digits. And yeah, there's like a lot of like shilling on here, but it's just like, if you were to ask me, because I didn't actually answer this, and I will say that like if you were to ask me what has the best chance of hitting 50 ETH first, I would say that 3 digit English ENS has the best chance of hitting not only 50 ETH but 100 ETH, and then beyond that, like I feel, and I know that this is once again like, you know, it's hopium, and I don't even have any yet, but like I could see these literally being the most valuable NFT personally, just because of how universal it is and the fact that it's just it's not, you can't recreate it at all. So who knows? Like I could be wrong, you could be wrong. Maybe you did. I mean, here's the thing: you already sold 0.000.ETH for 100 ETH, so like you're doing okay. So it's not like, you know, it's not like you pissed that money away. Like you got a good return on your investment on there for sure. But yeah, I
But
think
I am buying as well. Like I bought 0.55 for 35 ETH. I'm not like I didn't just make the money and I'm like, yeah, cool, I made my profit, I'm leaving. I genuinely believe in this.
yeah.
I genuinely believe in this. And so I reinvested into things that I thought it was valuable. And I had 0.55 pop up, a crazy deal at 35 ETH. And I'm like, man, I've got to take that. It's a beautiful number. Um, but I agree with you as well. And the thing is, like, it's easy for me to say it, and people be like, "Well, you're biased. You hold the bags," but you don't even hold a 3 digit, and you're saying that. And I think that's, and I appreciate you saying that. And it's hard to be someone who doesn't hold it and be like, I actually think this will reach a certain amount. And so, all respect for you,
Well,
honestly.
the reason why I will say that, like, the reason why I say this is because I saw when they were mooning at like 10 to 15 ETH, and I was just like, man, like I want to get into one of these, and then they ran like all the way to like whatever it was, 37 ETH, and now they're like retracing a bit. But the thing is when I bought my ape, like I bought it like I bought it higher than I wish that I would have bought it. And so it's like kind of what you were saying, like without like, you know, trying not to lose money. The way that I viewed it is I was like, okay, the economy's bad. We just had like a crazy run, all that kind of stuff. And so to me, the way that I viewed it is I was like, okay, I'm going to have a better entry at this, and I think that it will come soon. And so while I am saying this, and I know that like the floor for 3 digit English right now is like 20 ETH, like, you know, my goal is to like keep watching this, and when I feel that the time is right, I'm gonna make offers. And I'm glad that like I didn't FOMO in when I'm like, oh, like, you know, they're at like 30 or 25 or anything like that, because I they're becoming like more accessible. And so I guess that's like kind of why, is that, you know, I definitely do want to end up like grabbing some. But look, like I know we've been talking for a while, and honestly, like I want to bullshit like about this, you know, again, like whenever. I appreciate you, like you taking the time to talk to me, because like this has been
Let's
awesome.
do a review. We'll do a review video in like 3 months or something.
Yeah.
See where we're at. See if we're embarrassed or if we're like, I told you so.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, like, and trust, like, I've said stuff that I've been wrong about, like, on this channel and just in general, and so who knows? Like, we don't know, but yeah, like, we'll definitely catch up again soon. Now, make sure to follow Leo on Twitter because this is, I mean, a lot of like the thing is one of the better things that you can do is go follow Leo. You mentioned like 000 or 008.eth. Follow him. Daniel got hits 260.eth, right? Like people all the time are always like, well, where do I? And I actually mentioned this in one of my videos. They're like, where did you find out about all this info? And I'm like, I literally get my information on Twitter by following the right people. So yeah,
Definitely. You
yeah.
hear Twitter is really special. Like you'll probably hear it in a group chat if you're in the right group chat, or in a tweet by someone who knows what they're talking about. So definitely Twitter is the place to be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, I know we've been talking for like a while. I'm gonna have to cut this up, but
All
yeah,
good, man.
no, thank you for all of it. I think that this was a ton of valuable info, and like once again, I know we're being like very bullish on it, but it's just because like I actually really do believe in it, and obviously like you do too. And you know, this isn't like meant to like do anything except for educate people. Like that's all it is. Like not saying that I mean whatever, we've already talked about it like long enough, but like that is like one thing that I do want to stress is that like this really is just for like education, just for like speculation, which is like a lot of what NFTs are. And so so yeah, thank you man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
For sure.